Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is the continuation of my grading series. This week we're going to check out notes that are graded very fine 30 to choice very fine 35. What do we have for definitions? For a very fine 30, this is according to PMG, the note will be lightly circulated and may have light soiling. There will typically be 7 to 10 folds. So here now they're actually starting to give a number as far as how many folds there are. So let's get started. The first note I've got up here is a 30, and this is my $500 note, 1934 $500 bill. Now, looking at this, they say that it can have 7 to 10 folds. When you look at this note, it looks like 1, looks like 2, looks like 3. I see 3. However, when you look at the back in the light, those aren't 1, 2, 3 folds. Those look like 3, 6, 9, and 10. That's what that looks like there. I think that's how they must have figured out the grading on this particular one. The rest of the note is okay. It's actually a little dirtier than I'd expect for a 30, but this one has been graded a while back, and the case that it's in is also pretty dirty. So that also could have something to do with it. But looking at the note, you can see the corners are good. You can see it doesn't have any bad marks or anything like that. You can see on the top, this one does have a print line. That was for cutting purposes. They just miscut the particular note. That does affect the grade as well. But yeah, that's what we're starting with. This is the very fine 30. Number 10 on the list. Number 9. Number 9, I've got an error note. This one's from 1985, a $20 error. They call it a butterfly fold. Now, when it comes to errors, this is the error. This is what makes this note what it is. This is the whole reason for this note being. Okay, it is listed as an error. It does have error there. So this was graded as an error. So this does not count against the grade. Does that make sense? I mean, if you look, there's definitely some soiling there on the edge. I don't know what the deal is with that, but they're not counting this as a crease or a fold, and probably not even counting this particular dirt because none of that's supposed to be there. What they do note is this crease and this one and this one and this one and this one. I mean, as you tilt this in the light, you can see how this note is not perfect, and you can see that there's also writing on it, which they did ding it for, annotation. Basically ink. But yeah, looking at the back, once again, looking at the borders, that's where you can see all the wrinkling in the paper. So it's in good shape, but it's not pristine in any stretch of the imagination. You can see there are numerous creases. Once again, we're not counting this crease, but there's a crease here, there's here. So yeah, here it's a modern note with an error, the error being a crease. That is not counted against the note because they are grading this note as having this error. So what is the grade of the rest of the note? That's number 9. Number 8. Number 8, I've got my 1918 Federal Reserve banknote from Chicago. This is my Flying Eagle. That is why it is a Flying Eagle. And once again, checking out the back, you can see it does have a little bit of dirt on the bottom. You can see the folds here. There are numerous folds. You can see the note has been handled. But one of the other things about this note, looking at the front, you do have a lot of white. And it is white. It's not very dark. It's not very dirty at all. So it does have minor soiling because it's not bright. But you'll also notice it got the EPQ. EPQ is exceptional paper quality. What that means is that this note's paper is in the same condition as when it was printed. That doesn't mean the note is crisp, solid for being over 120 years or over 110 years, 105 years old. What that means is that this note has not sat in a puddle. This note has not been flattened. This note has not been smoothed out or cleaned. It retains the exact same paper quality as was new. That's the best way to put it. You can take a brand new bill, crumple it up in a ball, and open it up, and yeah, it's going to have all kinds of creases in it, but the paper quality is still going to be as it was when the note was printed. Does that make sense to you? Is that the best way to think about it? Think of a brand new $1 bill and squish it in your hand. You just put a bunch of creases in there, but the quality of the paper still has that thickness, that bite to it. So that's what an EPQ designation is signifying. I didn't even consider this one getting an EPQ when I sent it in. I just wanted to get it graded, and they were quite happy with it. I was quite happy getting an EPQ. But yeah, looking at the top, once again, you can see some creases. You can see, though, that the paper is fairly bright. And once again, looking at the back, yeah, not a whole lot wrong with it, but not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. That is number 8. Number 7. One of the big surprises when I graded my notes, my 1899 Chief note came back as a 30. Now, when you look at this note, you can see hard crease here. Didn't break the ink, but it's a hard crease on the paper. You can see it does have wrinkling over here. It does have wrinkling here. It's got a hard crease here, wrinkles over here. Checking this corner, you can see it's got a little bit of a wrinkle here, a little bit of a wrinkle up top here. Looking at the back, there's the hard crease. Now, the other thing is this particular note does have a stain. It's got a stain here, so they did note it as stained. But they didn't give it a net designation. They just said it was a 30 and it was stained. So I got away with a huge one on this one, I think. I paid $400 for this, and a 30 grades out at like 1,500 or something like that. So I did real good there. But yeah, when you're looking at the paper quality of this, you can see the image, and that's where you're looking for all the creases. You're looking for that image to be broken up, and that image isn't broken up. Whereas on a 20, on a 25, there may be a little bit of broken up in that image, where this image is still solid. You can make out every detail of that image. The colors are very vibrant. The embossing in this is really good. So yeah, this one, I'm only surprised it got a 30 because of the stains. And since they gave it a 30 and notated the stains, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. So that is number 7. Number 6. Another error that I've got. 1950 $10 Federal Reserve note from Atlanta. You can see they graded it 30. And once again, in the sunlight, it's very obvious. You've got crease here, there's a diagonal crease here, a couple over here. But I mean, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 heavy folds, maybe 7 heavy folds in this particular one. It's not an EPQ, so the paper quality isn't that great. Looking at the back of this particular note, once again, you can see those creases are in there. Does list it as minor rust, and that would be these marks over here. And this one, of course, was my insufficient inking error, which just blew my mind that they called this what it was, because to me, it's 2 errors. To me, there's the signature missing, which is part of the second print, and then there's the serial number missing, which is part of the third print. So I don't understand how both of those happened, and yeah, to me it's 2 errors in one. So this note here is really amazing to me. But once again, being able to see clearly the number of creases, the soiling, just to give you an idea of a 30. Number 5. Number 5 is another error note. This is a 2003A, and this one is an offset printing error. This one has the seal on the back. It does have a seal on the front, but the seal on the front is very light. So the offset print happened when the next bill came on top of this, and each bill in this stack ended up transferring the seal onto the back of the bill on top of it. This one was given an EPQ, which means this bill has been handled. You can see the creases in this particular bill. You can see those pretty clearly there. But the paper quality is still crisp. That's what they're looking for on the EPQ. Once again, it's very easy to take a crisp, brand new $1 bill and squish it. And when you do that, yes, there are now creases and folds in the bill, but the paper quality is still there. So that's what they're talking about with paper quality. And once again, I'm just trying to show in the light the number of creases, and there's a difference between a crease and a fold. I keep saying crease, but most of these are just folds. They're not necessarily creases. A crease is going to break the surface and damage the ink, where a fold is just handling. All right, number 4. This is my 1899 Black Eagle, and I swear up and down I don't understand how this didn't get a 40 or a 45. When I look at it in the light, I don't know. I can see that there's some wrinkling in the paper here. Let's see. There's a little bit of wrinkling right here, but to me that's 2 wrinkles. That's not 7 to 10 or 6 to 10. Looking at the back, maybe a light one here, that's 1, maybe here, that's 2. Well, it's definitely 2. But looking over here, maybe 3, you know. The back is the best way to check this. And yeah, when you look at the top, I don't know. It's pretty close. It's real close. I guess if you were to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think that's where they're going. But yeah, I didn't think so. This one is great color, great inking on this particular one. They did give it the EPQ, as it most certainly deserved. I was just relieved that it wasn't pressed. But yeah, this one has always just been a tough one for me to swallow on there. But like I said, the sunlight is the best way to look at the notes to determine that stuff. And yeah, maybe. I'm just going to go with maybe on this particular one. All right, number 3. This one is a 35, and it's another error note of mine. Now, this particular one is my $100 note that has the cutting error, and as you can see, it has an appendage. Now, looking at that, the note was folded over, okay? And then the note was cut. Well, that is the error once again. So we're not counting this crease against the note itself, okay? Because that is the whole problem with the note in the first place. So they graded on the rest of it. You can see it's got a heavy crease over here. It's got a crease here that does go into the inking a little bit as well. But overall, the color is really good on it. And actually, since this one's a 35, let me just double check to see what it has to say about 35s here. All right, a 30, this note will be lightly circulated and may have light soiling. There will typically be 7 to 10 folds. That's a 30. 35 is choice very fine. It says, for years, dealers and collectors called this grade VFXF. This note looks extremely fine, but it will have 4 to 7 light folds. So that's how they determine this particular one. And if we look at the back, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and some wrinkling there. So that's what they looked at this one. They did give it the EPQ though. Number 2, another 35. This was my solid star error. Once again, also getting the EPQ designation. I was hoping for better than that, but once you start reading all the descriptions, this one says 4 to 7, and there's definitely this hard one here, definitely something here. Once again, if I just go through it there, well, there's 2 for sure, but I don't know, unless they're counting 1, 2, 3. Let's look at the back, maybe something will show up there. Yeah, that's a pretty hard fold across the center, but I don't see too much else wrong with this particular note. Maybe they're calling the corner there. But yeah, that's a 35, and once again with the EPQ. And number 1, number 1 this week, another 35. This is my 1862 $1 legal tender. And as we look over this note, once again, in the sun's starting to go down now, so I'm not getting as good. But I can see that there's a mark here. And that's all I see on this particular note. So did it get the EPQ? Yes, it did. It got EPQ, so it wasn't cleaned. Okay, you can kind of see a light one here, and maybe here, maybe here, maybe here. Okay, I guess I can find 4 on there. That's why you want to look at the back especially, because they stand out a lot more on the back than they do on the front. So that's my 30s and my 35s, just to give you an idea of what those are going to be looking like. If you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading your comments. Next week, I'm going to pull out some of my higher graded notes, and that'll probably be the end of the series because I don't have a whole lot of those. So we're talking 40, 45, and I'll show you the difference between a 40, 45, and a 58. I've got 60s and stuff, but once you get to grades that high, it's very difficult to see on camera all the differences like that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next week.